Need for home decorating, you'll find it at Westside Decorating Center. Good morning to you. For the first, maybe 20 minutes or so, we will have open phones. So if you want to call, 989-752-6111, it would be okay. But at 10:30 this morning, we will be talking to Bill O'Reilly. But in the meantime, let's get those calls answered, and we'll find out what's on your mind this morning. And we're going to start. Carl's with us. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Art. Happy first day of autumn.
Yeah. Where'd summer go?
Yeah, well, it's gone now.
Boy, it sure is.
Last night we listened to the program United Shades of Grey. Did you hear this week's program, Art?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. Well, one of the main things they talked about was a Charlie Kirk quote. Spent a lot of time on it. It was the one about, if he sees a black pilot, he wonders if the pilot is qualified or if it's a affirmative action hire. And apparently Kirk said, I wish I didn't feel this way. Well, I would have said to him, well, then don't feel that way. Don't give in to prejudice. When I see a black doctor, in fact, I had a black doctor treating me for arthritis. It never occurred to me to think he was hired because of DEI. It never entered my mind. I don't know why somebody's mind would go there.
Well, all right, first of all, I'm going to agree with you because I was brought up that way too. I don't judge people by the color of their skin or anything else. I want to know their proficiency at what they're doing, that's all. But
yes,
what he expressed, and I'm not defending it, so don't misunderstand this, but what he expressed is unfortunately how many people view it. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I think we all have prejudices, Art. We're just, we're human, and we're brought up and we hear things and we take them in. And I think we all have prejudices. And some of that is when we see people who are not like us, then we're fearful.
Yeah.
And I think that's giving in. I think that's giving in to those prejudices.
Yep. But it's it's historic. Been going on for millenniums. And
yes,
as I've said many times, no child comes into this world with a prejudice bone in their body. It's all learned behavior. And until we break that cycle, it's going to be with us.
Art, at the memorial yesterday, Charlie Kirk's wife said that she forgives
the highlight of the whole day.
That was amazing. It was amazing that she was able to say that.
Yep.
However, Trump follows her up with, and he says, I disagree. I hate my enemies.
Yep.
I thought that was very disrespectful.
It wasn't. I wouldn't. You know what I thought? Because it struck me as he was saying it. At least we can say he was honest about it. And
well, that
honesty's worth something.
I don't think that was. I don't think that was the time or place.
Maybe not.
Right in front of the widow.
Maybe not
to say that. Well,
maybe not. But and I have to admit, I didn't think that the president was the highlight of the day anyway. I really thought she was. And it was, it was more like when I watched it, it felt more like a revival meeting than a memorial, which was okay. I mean, and that's probably what he would have preferred anyway.
That could be.
All right. Gotta move along.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Art.
And Mark is in Prescott. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, Art. How are you, sir?
Good.
Yeah, I ventured out on Saturday, which I usually don't do, but I went to the State Theater. Who runs that State Theater?
Fellow's name is Jordan Dice.
Jordan Dice. I went there and I saw a magic show. It was called Smokus Pocus. Excellent Vegas show. First time I was there since it's been remodeled. The venue looked great. I didn't know if Dice was part of the show. He was
No, he owns it. He owns the theater.
Well, he was selling the tickets, then he was working the concession stand, and
Yep.
he was running around doing something. When I
Yep.
left, he was selling merchandise, so I didn't know if he was part of the Hocus Pocus show
Nope.
magic.
He's part of the whole thing. He is the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a good venue if you get a chance to get out there and
It is.
look at that.
He also owns the Court Theater in Saginaw, which is not reopened yet, but next year he hopes to have that open.
The only critique that I would have is if when at the concession stand, I'm sure you've been there, the straws are right at the beginning when you place your order for your drink at the cash register, which is about 10 feet away, and then you forget your straw.
So move the
You
straws.
got to go all the way back down. Move the straws.
That's good. All
I
right.
think that's a good time.
Good enough.
All right, sir.
Thanks.
Yep, bye.
Down in Birch Run, we find John. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Art. How you doing today?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Hey, in regards to what Carl said, I think Charlie said that, 25, 24 years old, and people's opinions do change. Things we said and did when we were in our teens and 20s and 30s, you and I were a lot older than that. You change your opinions on things, and I think that's what happened with Charlie. And I could be wrong, but it could be a DEI thought, too.
Well, I suspect that's what it was. And you are so right, because I think back to some of the dumb stuff I did when I was in my 20s and go, how did I survive?
Yeah.
So
I mean, Carl feels that Republicans are wrong about everything. Well, neither party is wrong about everything. Just sometimes they don't agree with what we believe.
Yep.
So
That's
it's just it's you can nitpick anything anybody says.
all right.
Really.
Fair enough.
All right.
Good, John.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And Rachel's in Bay City. Rachel, good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm calling to clarify the Charlie Kirk comment. It's not outdated from when he was 20 and now he's 31. That's not the situation. It's not just in reference generally to DEI or affirmative action. That was a specific conversation, and this is what happens with him, is everything's completely taken out of context. This was a specific conversation in regards to Boeing specifically having an internal policy where they were hiring females and black females priority above everyone else, which resulted in a black woman who did not have adequate training crashing a plane. That's what this is about. It's Boeing's actual internal policy, which they have since corrected. At least they told us publicly that they did. So that's what it's about.
All right.
And that's what he was talking about. Where should I have to question this for the future going forward? Exactly. We shouldn't have to, because these companies shouldn't place black or female, any of those categories, above merit. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. All right. Good
Yep.
enough. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mike is in Thomas Township. Mike, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Art. I got an email the other day, and it mentioned about they brought a bill up in Congress and to vote on about ending political violence and condemning it, and then supporting Charlie Kirk, and 58 Democrats voted against that to condemn violence. And it happened to be that two of ours from down in the Detroit area, Dearborn.
Yeah, but
voted
95
against it.
did vote for it.
Yes.
So let's be fair about it.
No, I'm not trying to be unfair or nothing, but I'm being unfair against the 58 that didn't vote for it.
Mm-hmm. And there were 21 that voted present.
Yeah. But I understand that, but I'm just saying, why would anybody not condemn political violence?
Yeah. Who knows in this day and age?
Well, and I look at the people that didn't vote for it. Of course, they were all, Democrat, which I have nothing against the Democrats. Matter of fact, one of my first times I voted was for a Democrat, for John F. Kennedy, and he was one of my favorite presidents.
I thought I saw 2 Republicans voted against it.
I don't.
think so.
I got the list on the computer, but I don't want to go in there because my radio's going.
All right.
Okay, I'll take a look again, but I just thought that was pretty bad.
Yep.
Let's
Gotcha.
get together.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
All right, our last caller is going to be Alvin in Saginaw. Good morning, Alvin.
Hey, what's up, Art?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. I was listening. I just think this whole DEI thing with black people, it really is an issue within an issue, and I think it muddies the water because black people were considered inferior. But I have a brother who is a physician, and he graduated near the top of his class, and he aced his residency, and he's very big in the community where he lives there in South Boston. And I think of some of the doctors we have here that are black, they're very accomplished. But that question will come into play for some people, including black people, I might add. Everybody wants the best doctor they can get. And you want to make sure that person is qualified and got on their own merits, not by lowering the standards.
Right.
So it's a very touchy issue with black people because of history in America.
All right, hang on. Alvin, let me interrupt just for a second. First of all, folks, I know Alvin. I've known him for years. He is an exceptional man. Notice I didn't say exceptional black man. He's an exceptional man who happens to be black. In your life, Alvin, have you suffered from it? From discrimination?
I certainly have experienced discrimination, but I will say this. I haven't, and it was because of my dad. I mean, all of my siblings are high accomplishing people because we were never able to use any kind of prejudice as an excuse to succeed. It was not going to happen in my house, in my family. My mother and my parents, they lived through Jim Crow and everything. And so they said, you're excellent, but what it's all about. And I don't want anybody lowering the standard for me or anybody else. In my opinion, the best should be the best. And black people are smart. We can compete, and it's a proven fact that we can. And quotas should not be driven, our success should not be driven by quotas. And I just happen to believe that it's a disservice to us and the public, no matter what field you're in.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that we don't get the issue within the issue mixed up with the actual issue.
Yeah.
And that's really what's happening. And that's why I think that open conversation that Charlie Kirk was trying to have is one that needs to be happening. The problem is sometimes we can't receive it because the water is muddied by history.
We're blinded. We wear blinders, Hey,
and people have a very low tolerance.
Yeah.
Because when you start talking that way, you start thinking, well, that's almost saying that black people are not qualified, and that's a disservice to the black. But if they lower the standard, it's a disservice to black people too.
Yeah.
So
All right,
I think that's the problem.
All right, I got to interrupt for time here, but Alvin, let's do it again. We'll talk more. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye, my friend. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and we'll be chatting with Bill O'Reilly.
Gotta go.
And didn't end until well after 7 o'clock with President Trump being the final speaker. To me, though, if I were going to have only one remembrance of that whole thing, it was at the point where Erica Kirk, who obviously was very emotional, as you would expect, in a moment that will, I think, probably go down in history, looked at the camera and said of the young man who took her husband's life, "I forgive him." That, to me, was the defining moment of yesterday. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and we'll be chatting with Bill O'Reilly.
Gotta go.
With a teacher, and then he turned commentator, journalist, broadcaster, and best-selling author with 19 books on the New York Times bestseller list as number one. He is the one and only Bill O'Reilly. Bill, good morning.
All right, I got to correct you. Is that okay? And I appreciate you having me in.
Yeah, go.
20 number one
Oh.
New York Times bestsellers, including Confronting Evil,
Okay.
which is why I'm on the phone with you. Not that I wouldn't be anyway, but
Well,
we got 20 number ones, which is a world record.
well, what you have to do then is go into the cover of Confronting Evil, and on the back flap where it says 19, have them change that, because now you have 20.
Yeah, that would cost a lot of money, but the number one status just hit last week, the first
Excellent.
week the book was released.
Excellent.
Right.
All right, I have to ask you a question right off the top, Bill, because as I peruse this book, and, I looked at some of the obvious evils, and there are tons of them. The ones that surprised me, and I'll explain why, were the robber barons of J.P. Morgan and J.D. Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller. The reason I say that is while, yeah, they were unscrupulous business people, mistreated their employees terribly, I don't see how they rank with the likes of, Mao Zedong, who had 80 million people killed under him. How do you put them together with that?
Well, I would say that the robber barons are responsible or were responsible for millions of deaths in the United States. If you study, as we did, the monopolies in oil, in railroads, in mining, and there were no safeguards at all. Children as young as 8 years old working there. No rules, no overtime, paid them nothing. Rockefeller cut off oil supplies in the winter to drive the prices up. I mean, these are evil guys. Meanwhile, they're living as large as you could possibly live in the Gilded Age. And the reason I put that chapter in is because one guy brought them down, a symbol for good. And I needed a symbol for good at the time in the book, and that was President Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt. And he took him on, and he won. He beat him in the Supreme Court. But these were heinous men, awful men. And they're lionized today. Come to New York City, it's Rockefeller Center this, it's Carnegie Hall that. And nobody knows really how they made their money and how ruthless they were.
So as you began to put this book together, Confronting Evil, I think first you have to define evil. So what's your definition of evil to make this book?
It comes from Christian theology. If you hurt another human being intentionally, you know it's wrong, you hurt them anyway, kill them, rape them, whatever it may be, and you have no remorse, you are evil.
And there are some notable names in here. Is there one that stands out? I mean, you have people in here that are responsible for millions and millions and millions of death. But is there one above all?
No, I would say Mao Zedong is the worst mass murderer of all time. He killed his own people to the tune of about 20 million. When you add it all up, he was there for a long time as a communist dictator. Everybody knows about Hitler and World War II, 100 million dead, and that's Hitler, Stalin, Tojo in Japan, across the board, the fascist states. I wrote this book, Art, because about a year ago, it takes a year to write and research my books, I noticed a rise in evil in the United States and around the world. And it was led by Putin, who's on the cover of the book. Putin is there with Hitler and Mao and the Ayatollah Khomeini. And I said, this reminds me of the 1930s when you had the rise of the fascist states that led to World War II. It's not nearly there yet, but it's heading in that direction. And I don't think most people understand that. So I'll make it really clear in a book called Confronting Evil, and that's what we did.
At what point, I know you had done the Killing series, and then you moved on to the Confronting series. What caused the change? Just out of
I
curiosity.
just wanted to broaden it out a little bit. I mean, the Killing books are all one subject: killing Lincoln, killing Kennedy, killing Reagan, and then you have the 2 World War II books, Patton and Rising Sun. I just wanted to do a series of books that dealt with a lot of different people. So presidents is every single U.S. president. And then evil is 15 of the worst miscreants to ever walk the planet. Couldn't do that under the Killing format. Now, I might go back to the Killing format at some time, but Confronting's working great for us, I'll tell you that.
So how did you choose who to put in this book?
I'm a historian journalist, and so you combine those two disciplines, and you analyze how bad these people were. I could have put in people like Pol Pot in Cambodia, Saddam Hussein in Iraq, but they were evil. They were just as bad as these guys, but they didn't have the opportunity to do the damage that Caligula would do. Caligula led directly to the fall of the Roman Empire, which influences everybody today. And that's another commonality. All of the guys, 15 of them, and I couldn't find a woman that rose to even close to this status, all of them have a relevance to today. Genghis Khan, unbelievable. I go, Genghis Khan, yeah. You know, his hordes went from the Pacific to Hungary. And they influence history to this day about fear and how people deal with each other. The Great Wall of China was erected because of Genghis Khan's hordes. So I just try to make it as realistic and say, yeah, it's good that you know about these people, but they still resonate today.
Some of them I was not familiar with. For example, Isaac Franklin. Tell us about Mr. Franklin.
You talking about the slave traders?
Yeah.
Well, the 2 guys that we profile became the richest men in the world by selling human beings in the southern part of the United States. It's as simple as that. One of them was based in Virginia and the other in New Orleans, and they were partners. And they basically captured African Americans because they were on American soil. Congress had outlawed the importation of slavery at the time these guys rose up. But what they did was so horrendous. And I don't think, again, people, they know slavery. They know what happened. They know the Civil War. I wrote Killing Lincoln. But they don't know the nuts and bolts of how it was done. And that's what we put in the book.
The other part of slavery that is talked about was the slave ship off New Orleans. And I found that distressing when I read it.
Yeah, New Orleans was founded on slavery. And the term up the river, that was after you got sold in the marketplace of New Orleans. They put you on a boat, you went up the river to Mississippi or to Kentucky or to Tennessee, and there your master was waiting for you to put you on plantations or whatever it may be. And it was just savage. So that evil resonates, obviously, to this day, and it's important that people know about it.
Let me ask about one of the modern-day evils you point out, and that's Vladimir Putin. Can we trust him at all?
No, I mean, Putin's a psychopath, and he's the biggest danger to the world today by far. And I don't know how Trump's going to ultimately do it. I talked to President about it on 9/11 at Yankee Stadium about Putin and how pressure has to be brought to bear on this man. But at this point, Putin would use nuclear weapons, in my opinion. That's how sick he is. He is a psychopathic killer. And that's who you're dealing with. And boy, oh boy, is that a tough one. Because Putin was different in Trump's first term. Trump was able to contain him. But now Putin is a different guy, and that always happens when you embrace evil to that extent. You always deteriorate mentally, and Putin has. And it'll be very fascinating to see how this whole thing plays out.
So what do you use? Do sanctions work? Apparently not. Not so
Sanctions
far.
can work to some extent, but Trump needs to turn China against Putin. That's the big one.
Yeah, that's a difficult one.
Yeah, I wrote a column yesterday on BillO'Reilly.com. Everybody should check it out, about how you could do it, how Trump could turn the Chinese against Putin. And if that happened, that would be the way, because Putin's not suicidal. He'll kill everybody else, but he doesn't want to die. It's like the mullahs in Iran. They'll kill everybody else, but they don't want to go. But, that'll part of the Chinese equation is convincing them that to get out of the Putin business, because, boy, it's nasty.
Yeah. All right, Bill, hang on. I got to take a break. The book is Confronting Evil from Bill O'Reilly in cooperation with Josh Hammer. We'll tell you more about it when we return.
Did you know you can bring the
Hi, we're back with you, chatting with Bill O'Reilly, author of 20 #1 bestsellers on the New York Times bestseller list, including his new book, Confronting Evil. Bill, I want to read a paragraph toward the end of the book here to you and then ask you a question following it. It says, quote, "We Americans have vanquished evil governments in Germany, Japan, Russia, Iraq, and other far-off places. Our blood and treasure have literally provided freedom for billions of people throughout history. But today around the world we get little credit as memories fade." Now, first, I agree with that. But my question is, are we that country today? If we were called upon to vanquish evil, could we?
Yeah, I think we could. I mean, it's a different military landscape now with the high-tech weaponry. But I think that Americans still believe that everyone in the world should be free and have opportunity. And they're willing to fight for that if threatened. I don't think we're going to be nation-building anymore. That's over. But if directly threatened by a guy like Putin, we'll fight for it's a cliche, fight for freedom, but that's basically what we're trying to deliver to the Ukrainians who will be enslaved by Putin if they lose this conflict.
Will we succeed?
Don't know. It just depends on leadership and what the American public is willing to absorb. So you get a lot of ignorant people in this country, a lot of people who don't know anything, don't care to know anything, bubble people I call them. They live in their own little world driven by social media. They certainly don't have a commitment to anything but themselves. And that population is growing, unfortunately.
And as your title suggests, Confronting Evil, are we confronting evil within our own country?
Some places are, some places aren't. I mean, San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, these are places that are falling apart because there's so much evil in the public arena. But more traditional parts of the country certainly wouldn't stand for that kind of stuff. So it's a mixed bag here in the USA.
Bill, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about yesterday's memorial service for Charlie Kirk and your thoughts on it.
Well, I thought it was a good display of compassion and determination. So I always look at these things differently. I'm not emotionally involved. I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I thought his widow was magnificent, and her forgiveness of the assassin was stunning.
Yeah.
I understand a political component because that's why Charlie is dead, because of his politics. So I understand that you would have to bring some of that into a forum where the world is watching. but all in all, I think it's worthy. It was worthy, and I think the legacy is that the conservative Christian movement that Charlie Kirk